SCHD just paid out their last dividend payment of 2023, and it was the largest dividend payment SCHD has ever paid out, and it was also the largest dividend payment I've ever received. Looking at my do-it-yourself investor toolkit, I found that I own 960 shares of SCHD currently, and the Q4 payout per share for SCHD was 74.23 cents per share. So with some quick math, we can quickly see exactly how much I received in dividends in Q4 from SCHD, and the total amount was $712.61. Again, my largest dividend payment ever by far. Now, this is a great feeling, obviously, but the magic really kicks in when you reinvest these dividends. So if we jump over to this tab here again, we can see my SCHD quarterly dividend coming in at $712, with SCHD's current share price at the time of this video sitting at around $73 a share. We can see simply from reinvesting dividends, I'm able to receive almost 10 entirely new shares of SCHD. And here's what's interesting about that. SCHD's dividend is currently around $2.66 per share annually, which means I added $26 of annual dividend income simply from reinvesting my dividends from SCHD from just one quarter. Keep in mind, they pay out 4 times a year. So this is one of the many ways that the snowball effect can get kicked into place, but the other is that SCHD increases the amount they pay out in dividends every single year. Again, if we jump over to my do-it-yourself investor toolkit and we check to see how much SCHD is currently paying me in dividends, we can see it's around $2,553.60 a year. So let's go ahead and jump back over here. We'll plug this in, $2,553.60. Again, that's the amount I'm currently projected to receive from SCHD in dividends. In the most recent year, they had a dividend growth rate of around 3.77%. Now, this is quite a bit lower than it has been historically speaking, but we can see that still increases my annual dividend income from SCHD by over $96, almost $100, simply from SCHD increasing the amount they pay out in dividends 3.77%. So when you combine the fact I'm reinvesting my dividends from SCHD and they're also increasing their dividend payouts per share, we really get a tremendous snowball effect. Now, I do want to address some concerns in this video about SCHD's dividend growth rate being the lowest it's ever been at 3.77%. So there's a couple of things that I want to look at. The first thing we'll do is we'll look at this SCHD history analysis tab that I built out for this video. I'll go ahead and zoom in just a little bit more, but basically you can see we have a tab for the year, the amount they paid out in dividends each quarter, the pay date, and the quarterly year-over-year growth, the total yearly dividends, and the year-over-year growth. And like we already mentioned, the most recent year came in at 3.77%, which if we scroll through this, we can see that's by far the lowest amount they've increased it since the inception of this fund. So is that a reason for us to be concerned? Let's go ahead and start breaking this down. First off, on average, if we do a quick formula over here, we can see SCHD's year-over-year dividend growth since the inception of this fund is quite a bit better than you would expect. It actually comes in at 11.5%. That is absolutely phenomenal dividend growth, and keep in mind that does take into account the low 3.77% we saw with the most recent year. And if we look at this quarterly year-over-year dividend growth, we can see this dividend payment that we received in December is actually a 5.53% increase from the dividend payment we received in December of 2022. In fact, the Q1 dividend payment in 2023 was a 15.24% increase from the dividend payment in January of 2022. So that was really phenomenal. Now in Q2 of 2023, we actually did see a decrease around 5.56% from the dividend payment in 2022 in Q2. But it's important to keep in mind that quarterly year-over-year growth declines from SCHD dividend payments are very rare. We can see this is the first one that had happened in quite some time this most recent year, since the beginning of 2018. And even though every now and then we see a slight decrease in the quarterly dividend payments, SCHD has never had a year-over-year decrease in dividend payments. It's been positive every single year. And in fact, 3.77%, again, while this was the lowest, the next lowest is really nowhere near that. I think it's around 6.96%, as we can see right here. So again, while SCHD's dividend growth rate was a little bit lower in 2023, for me, this is personally no concern for me whatsoever. I am completely comfortable with SCHD continuing to be the largest position in my portfolio, and it currently makes up around 48.1% of my portfolio, and I own around $70,260 of SCHD. Now here's what's really crazy about that fact. If we jump over to my dividend portfolio projection tab, I'll go ahead and zoom in again. This is a tab I built for the sole purpose of seeing how fast I can live off dividends. And like always, if you'd like to download any of my spreadsheets, you can head over to my Patreon page at the link in the description. But again, let's assume that all I do is get up to 70,000 of SCHD, which is what I have right now. Assuming $0 monthly contributions, again, $0, I never contribute capital to my SCHD position again, we'll assume a 7% price growth rate and a 7% dividend growth rate, which is actually quite a bit below their historical averages of around 12% price growth rate and 11% dividend growth rate. So I am being a little more conservative. SCHD's current dividend yield is sitting at around 3.8%. So I'll hit enter here and we'll jump over to my live off dividends analysis tab. And here's what I want to start to break down, and here's what is so crazy. Again, we are not contributing anything on a monthly basis now that I'm at $70,000, just as an example to see what the results would be. And if we scroll down and see what it would look like around 5 years from now, I could be receiving around $376.26 from SCHD every single month. Now keep in mind, they do pay out quarterly, but for the sake of this projection, I'm looking at what it would be like on a monthly basis. $376 is absolutely no joke, and keep in mind, that comes from just $70,000 in SCHD, and this would also give me an account value of around $119,000. If we keep scrolling down and see what it would look like in around 15 years, we're almost there, and right here we have 15 years, I could be receiving $1,081 every single month from SCHD. But here's where it gets really crazy. Again, if I never invest any more to my portfolio with just $70,000 of SCHD, 30 years from now, I could be receiving $5,275 every single month, and this would also give me an account value of over $1.67 million, and over that time period, I would have received over $576,000 from SCHD. Again, this is just a projection with somewhat conservative projections based off the historical data from SCHD. It is completely possible that we get even better results than this. And again, in this example, I wasn't contributing any money on a monthly basis. We were simply going with my current SCHD portfolio size. And this just goes to show that the true compounding effect only kicks into place when you reinvest those dividends and you also buy stocks that increase the amount they pay out in dividends every single year. After plugging in this most recent dividend payment from SCHD, my portfolio is now at an all-time high, and I've contributed very little capital to my portfolio over the last month and a half. It's now sitting at $146,000 with around 16% in gains, or around $21,500 in gains. And after the recent run-up in the share price of SCHD over the past month, we can see I'm currently up around 9.43% on this position when you include the dividends that I've received. And after reinvesting my dividends from SCHD, we can now see my annual projected dividends is sitting at $2,580.20 from SCHD. And this also bumps up my average monthly dividends of $426.56. So make no doubt about it, while SCHD didn't perform quite as well in 2023 as it historically has done, I'm completely fine with this being the largest position in my portfolio, and I think it will help me achieve my long-term goal of one day being able to live off dividend income. So go ahead and let me know in the comments down below what you think of this most recent dividend payout from SCHD, if you're happy with it or if you have concerns. And like always, if you'd like to join a community of dividend investors and get access to all of my spreadsheets, then you can head over to my Patreon page at the link in the description.